When everything collapses, the only thing left is how you choose to respond. Epictetus doesn't offer comfort, offers freedom, a raw, real, uncomfortable freedom, but an invincible one. Stay until the end to discover how to stop suffering over what you cannot control. Life strikes without warning. It steals what you love, shatters what you built, mocks your plans, and forces you to kneel before the inevitable. It doesn't ask. It doesn't negotiate. Sometimes it doesn't even give you time to prepare. It drags you. It throws you against the wall of reality. And when you're there, on the ground, waiting for an answer, comfort doesn't always come. Epictetus didn't offer it. He didn't sell hope. He didn't soften pain. He offered something far more valuable, truth. And that truth doesn't care if it shakes you. It hurts. But it is the only thing that liberates. Inner peace only arrives when you stop resisting, not pain itself, but the illusion of control, because that is what chains us the most, the belief that everything must align with our expectations, as if the universe were obligated to be fair, or kind, or consistent with what we dream. There is no freedom as long as you believe everything must turn out the way you want. That obsession with bending reality to your will is the root of anxiety, fear, and constant frustration. Stoicism does not come to calm you down. It does not come to protect you from suffering. It comes to burn the false securities you built out of fear. It comes to destroy your conditions for happiness. You cannot prevent betrayal. You cannot stop those you love from getting sick. You cannot halt death, the passage of time, or the injustice of this world. But you can do something far more radical. Stop tying yourself to all of it. Stop being a slave to your desire and your aversion. Epictetus said it with brutal clarity. Nothing external has the power to disturb you, unless you give it that power. The problem is never what happens, but the judgment you make about what happens. You lost money, and it hurts not because of the money, but because you believed you needed it to feel secure. You were abandoned, and what breaks you is not the absence, but your conviction that without that person, you are incomplete. Those chains do not come from the world. They come from you, from what you chose to believe. Attachment turns everything into a threat. Life becomes a minefield where every loss is a tragedy. But there is another way to exist in the world, without demanding that it work in your favor, without needing everything to be under control, to observe chaos without begging for order, to inhabit pain without turning it into identity. That is freedom. Epictetus did not propose resignation. He proposed transformation, renouncing the whim of controlling the universe and beginning to live in harmony with what already is. Desire only what depends on you, and theno one will be able to take your peace away. Letting go is not losing. Letting go is stopping the burden of what is already breaking you from the inside. Pain hurts, yes, but clinging to it is what makes it last. Epictetus taught that men suffer not because of what happens, but because of their inner relationship with what happens. And that relationship, that inner narrative, that can be transformed. You don't need the world to change. You need to change the way you look at it. The problem is that we were taught to possess, to retain, to build identity based on what we have: partner, children, beauty, reputation, stability. But all of that, sooner or later, breaks, not because you failed, but because that is life. Everything external is unstable. Everything external is vulnerable to time. And if your peace depends on what is external, then you are vulnerable too. This is not about denying pain, nor pretending it doesn't hurt to lose someone you love. It is about not living chained to what you cannot keep. Accepting does not mean surrendering. It means letting go of the fantasy of control. It means recognizing that there is a greater order that does not revolve around your desires. You can hold your child with love without forgetting that they are not yours. You can love without possessing, and that, even though it hurts, is freedom. Epictetus was radical, not out of cruelty, but out of love for truth. If you place your happiness in the hands of what you cannot control, you are asking to suffer. Are you offended when someone disrespects you? Does it wound you when you are not recognized? Does it destroy you when a relationship ends? All of that, for Stoicism, is part of the natural flow of events. You cannot stop others from acting as they do, But you can stop handing your peace over to every one of those movements. The ego feeds on attachments. It clings to the idea that it deserves stability, that it can protect itself from uncertainty, that there is justice in this life. But Epictetus crushed that illusion with one sentence: do not ask for things to happen as you wish. Wish for them to happen as they do. That is everything. In that shift, in that acceptance without resignation, without submission, without complaint, the world does not exist to please you. The world happens. Your task is not to control it, but to inhabit it with awareness. And you can only do that if you stop fighting reality. Acceptance is not weakness. It is the greatest strength a conscious human being can exercise, because it means facing the inevitable head-on and remaining firm, without revenge, without explanations, without drama, just presence, just integrity. Epictetus spoke of virtue as the only true form of good, virtue not in a moralistic sense, but as a life coherent with what lies within your control, your judgment, your decisions, your way of responding to what you cannot change. That is where power resides. That is where true peace is born. When you insist that things should be different, you fracture yourself. When you argue with what is irreversible, you lose. Death does not stop because you are not ready. Abandonment is not prevented by pleading. Betrayal is not erased by promises. And yet, we keep living under the illusion that we can negotiate with reality. We keep begging for certainty where there is only movement. Stoicism rips off that blindfold. It confronts you with what is. And in that brutal act, it also frees you, because it no longer matters whether someone loves you, whether your job recognizes you, whether the world is fair, because you understand that none of those things define your peace. Freedom is born when you no longer need anything to be different. This is not about emotionally disconnecting. It is about not building your life on what can disappear. It is about loving without fear, acting without expectation, living without the need for guarantees. Because when you understand the nature of things, you learn to receive them and let them go without turning them into your identity. Sometimes, life hurts so much it feels unbearable. But it is precisely in those moments when this philosophy makes the most sense. Not to numb you, not to make you tough, but to remind you that pain is not the enemy. The enemy is the attachment to how you believe life should be. When you stop resisting, when you no longer fear loss, everything changes. Not because the world becomes kinder, but because you stop living at its mercy. That is the core of Epictetus' message. Do not come seeking comfort. Do not come seeking hope. Come to burn what is false, to leave behind what you can no longer carry, because only when you let it go do you truly lose it, and only when you truly lose it can you begin to be free, without noise, without masks, without conditions, just you, whole, silent, at peace. Life does not wait. Either you let go, or it breaks you. If this content resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe. Leave your like, activate the bell, and comment which part hit you the hardest. We'll see you in the next video with another truth that disturbs, but liberates. ****